December 10th, 2008. Manhattan. A 70-year-old man calls his two sons to his apartment on the Upper East Side. He has something to tell them. It's all just one big lie. The investment advisory business. Basically, a giant Ponzi scheme. It has been going on for years. $64.8 billion. The largest financial fraud in human history. Not a company. Not a bank. One man. For nearly half a century, Bernie Madoff ran two businesses from the same building. One was real. The other was the greatest fraud the world has ever seen. 1960. A 22-year-old kid from Laurelton, Queens, scrapes together $5,000. Money he earned as a lifeguard and sprinkler installer. He registers a one-man brokerage firm. Bernard Lawrence Madoff. His father-in-law, Saul Alpern, an accountant, refers his first clients. Ruth, Madoff's wife, keeps the books from their apartment. Madoff isn't a stock picker. He's a plumber. He builds systems to route and execute trades faster than anyone else. His innovation is speed. By the early 90s, his market-making business handles 5% of all New York Stock Exchange volume. He is named chairman of the NASDAQ. This is the legitimate Madoff, the market maker, the NASDAQ pioneer, the man regulators trust, and it was the perfect cover. But there is another business. On the 17th floor of the Lipstick Building in Midtown Manhattan, behind locked doors, Madoff runs an investment advisory operation. No one from the trading floor is allowed up. The 17th floor. An IBM S400 computer prints fake trade confirmations. A team of fewer than 24 fabricates account statements for thousands of clients. Every trade, every return, invented. Frank DePascali, Madoff's right hand on the 17th floor. A Queens kid, just like Bernie. No college degree. He runs the day-to-day fabrication of an empire built on nothing. Madoff doesn't advertise. He doesn't cold call. He lets people come to him. And his entry requirement is simple. You have to know someone. Country clubs in Palm Beach, synagogues in New York and Minneapolis, Jewish charities and community organizations. Madoff targets affinity networks, communities built on trust. He doesn't take your money directly. Feeder funds do that. Fairfield Greenwich Group, Tremont Capital, Banco Santander. They raise the capital, take their fees, and hand every dollar to Madoff. The feeder funds perform no due diligence. They don't verify a single trade. They don't ask why Madoff won't allow an outside audit. They just collect their 2% and look the other way. By 2008, Madoff claims to manage $64.8 billion for 4,800 clients across 136 countries. How do you steal $64 billion? You don't. The money was never there. Madoff's strategy was called split strike conversion. In theory, it's a real options strategy. In practice, he never executed a single trade. His reported returns were extraordinarily consistent, 10 to 12% annually, year after year. While the market swung wildly, Madoff's line went in one direction, straight up. The Depository Trust Company keeps records of every securities transaction in America. Madoff never appeared in them. Not once. Because there were no trades. New money in, old money out. That's a Ponzi scheme. Every dollar paid to a redeeming client came from a new deposit. The 17th floor's only job was to make it look like investing. Each month, DePascali and his team would look at what the market had done then backdate trades to match. They'd pick stocks that went up, pretend they'd bought them weeks ago, and print statements showing the profits. And the auditor? A one-man accounting firm in a strip mall in Rockland County, New York. Freeling and Horowitz, one active CPA, for a $65 billion fund. May 1999. A derivatives expert named Harry Markopoulos is asked by his boss to reverse engineer Madoff's returns. It takes him 5 minutes. Harry Markopoulos, quantitative analyst at Rampart Investment Management. He looks at Madoff's return stream and sees what no one at the SEC ever bothered to check.
The math doesn't work. The options volume Madoff claims to trade exceeds the total volume of the entire options market. He is claiming to buy more options than exist.
In May 2000, Markopoulos files his first complaint with the SEC's Boston office. He titles it, "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud." He lays out the mathematical impossibility in plain language. Nothing happens. The SEC forwards the complaint. It gets lost. No one investigates. Markopoulos resubmits in 2001, again in 2005, each time more detailed, each time ignored. In 2005, the SEC does send examiners to Madoff's office. They ask to see trade records. Madoff gives them fabricated documents. They accept them without checking the DTC. Markopoulos is terrified. He believes Madoff has organized crime connections. He varies his route to work. He checks his car for bombs. He warns his wife, "If anything happens to me, contact these reporters."
The SEC closes its investigation. Case closed. No fraud found. The regulator looked the fraud in the face and said, "Everything seems fine."
September 2008. Lehman Brothers collapses. The markets plunge. And suddenly, Madoff's clients need their money back. Redemption requests pour in. $7 billion in withdrawals requested in a matter of weeks. For a Ponzi scheme, this is a death sentence. There is no money to give back. Madoff tries to stall. He asks for time. He moves $200 million into family accounts. He knows it's over. He's known for weeks. December 10th. He tells Ruth. Then he tells Mark and Andrew. It's all been a fraud. His sons call a lawyer. The lawyer calls the FBI.
December 11th, 2008, 7 a.m. Two FBI agents knock on the door of Madoff's penthouse. He answers in his bathrobe. They ask if there's an innocent explanation. He says, "No, there is no innocent explanation."
The news hits the wires, and the world learns what Harry Markopoulos has known for 9 years. Bernard Madoff is a fraud. Everything is gone. The victims emerge. Thousands of retirees who trusted Madoff with their life savings. Charities that gave him everything. The Elie Wiesel Foundation for Humanity. Steven Spielberg's Wunderkinder Foundation. Gone.
Elie Wiesel, Nobel laureate, Holocaust survivor. His foundation loses $15.2 million. Every cent invested with Madoff. Wiesel calls him a thief, a scoundrel, an evil man.
One retiree in New York puts it simply, "I'm 72 years old, I have nothing left, and I have to figure out how to survive." Across the country, people who thought they were millionaires discover they are bankrupt. Two Madoff investors take their own lives within months of the arrest. Thierry de la Ville-Houchet, a French aristocrat who funneled money to Madoff, slashes his wrists in his Manhattan office. He cannot face his clients. The actual losses, real money deposited, total $17.5 billion. The rest was fabricated gains that never existed. But to the investors, the statement said $64 billion, and that's what they lost. Ruth Madoff. She says she didn't know. She attempts suicide with her husband on Christmas Eve, taking a handful of pills. They survive. She is not charged. March 12, 2009. Madoff stands before Judge Denny Chin. He pleads guilty to 11 federal felonies: securities fraud, investment advisor fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, perjury.
9 of his victims address the court. They describe ruined retirements, bankrupted charities, broken families. One says, "He stole from the dead and from those yet to be born."
June 29, 2009. Judge Chin sentences Madoff to 150 years in federal prison. The maximum. He will die behind bars. Irving Picard. The court-appointed trustee tasked with recovering what Madoff stole. He files over 1,000 lawsuits against feeder funds, against banks, against people who pulled out more than they put in. J.P. Morgan Chase, Madoff's primary bank for over 2 decades, settles for $2.6 billion. Internal emails show bankers suspected the returns were too good. They never reported it. Picard recovers over $14 billion, enough to repay every victim's principal investment. A remarkable outcome. But the trust, the retirement plans, the sense of security, those are never coming back. Who else knew? 5 Madoff employees plead guilty. DePascali, the fabricator-in-chief, cooperates with prosecutors. He dies of lung cancer before sentencing. December 11, 2010. Exactly 2 years after his father's arrest, Mark Madoff hangs himself in his Manhattan apartment. His 2-year-old son sleeps in the next room. Andrew Madoff dies of cancer in 2014. Both sons maintained they knew nothing of the fraud. Neither was charged. Ruth Madoff gives up the penthouse, the yacht, the homes in Montauk and Palm Beach. She settles with the government for $2.5 million, all she is allowed to keep from a marriage built on lies. April 14, 2021. Bernard Madoff dies in a federal prison hospital in Butner, North Carolina. He is 82 years old. His request for early release, compassionate release, they call it, was denied. The SEC Inspector General's report finds that the agency had received 6 substantive complaints about Madoff over 16 years. Each one detailed enough to uncover the fraud. Not one led to a thorough investigation. Madoff told investigators he started the Ponzi scheme in the early 1990s. Some believe it began decades earlier. We may never know. The lies are layered so deep that the truth is buried beneath them. Here's the question no one can answer. How did one man in one building with a handful of employees steal more money than the GDP of most countries for nearly 50 years while the regulators watched? The money was never there. That's the only truth that matters. $64.8 billion. A number on a page. The biggest lie on Wall Street.